Joining us now, MSNBC legal correspondent and host of Can They Do That on YouTube, Lisa Rubin, and former Deputy Assistant Attorney General Tom Dupree. All right, so Lisa, you were inside the courtroom today. Describe what you saw.
Katie, it was an absolutely surreal and bizarre experience to see someone who has been sort of a firmament of the federal law enforcement establishment, Jim Comey, have to stand up and enter a plea today of not guilty. Also tell the judge, Judge Michael Nachmanoff of the Eastern District of Virginia, that he understood his constitutional rights and the statutory rights that the judge read to him before thanking the judge very much. And then Jim Comey appeared to linger a little bit at the podium, almost as if for a moment he forgot what he was really doing there in that courtroom today, because Jim Comey, as you know, before he was the FBI director, had been a very long-serving member of the Department of Justice. In fact, he had been the Assistant United States Attorney in charge of the Richmond office of the same district that is now prosecuting him, the Eastern District of Virginia. One thing that I think is really interesting about what happened in court today is just how asymmetric the two sides seem to see this case. From Pat Fitzgerald, who is Jim Comey's defense attorney's perspective, this is a really simple case. It can go to trial relatively quickly after we have some pretrial motions. The judge appeared to agree, but the government's description of it was that this is a case with voluminous discovery and a large amount of discovery of a classified nature. That appeared to baffle Judge Nachmanoff and have Pat Fitzgerald sort of scratching his head as well. And the judge making it very clear that in the so-called rocket docket, his courtroom was not going to be an exception, and that the presence of classified information in this case would not be an excuse for slowing it down. Whether that motion practice, on the other hand, is going to take us sideways remains to be seen, Katie.
What do you make of that, Tom?
Well, look, it doesn't surprise me that the defense is going to go after this very aggressively. They've got two kill shots ready to go for this indictment. One is to argue that this is a case of vindictive prosecution, and the other argument is that the prosecutor was unlawfully appointed. So I think from the defense's perspective, my suspicion is that they feel confident that they've got good arguments on the merits if and when this ever reaches a jury. But they don't want to wait that long. I think they are going to move very quickly. They're going to ask this judge to throw out the indictment on one of those two threshold grounds, and I think they got a decent shot at getting it.
Why do you think they have a decent shot?
Well, let's see. On selective prosecution, they've got a tweet from the president saying, prosecute Jim Comey. OK, that's pretty good evidence. On the unlawful appointment side, I think there are fair questions as to whether or not this prosecutor who was appointed, exactly, she herself is kind of an interim appointment succeeding someone else who held an interim appointment. And lawyers will tell you you can't always stack one interim appointment on top of the other. So I think they've got a decent argument that this indictment was void from the moment it was filed because she does not lawfully hold the office of prosecutor.
Let's bring in MSNBC senior investigative correspondent Carol Leonnig. So, Carol, a little bit earlier today, Ed Martin and Lindsay Halligan posed and posted on social media a picture saying, "Good morning, America. How's the day going?" Something like that. I wonder if this argument in court that there's going to be just tons of discovery, tons of evidence that this case is full of classified material, whether that is going to be an effort by the government to just weigh James Comey and his lawyers down with paperwork to make them uncomfortable. And I ask that because Ed Martin in the past has said or intimated that even if we can't actually prosecute somebody, actually convict somebody, we want to make them uncomfortable. We want to make them feel the full weight of the federal government going after them.
Katie, it's such a good question, and I'm kind of grinning with one half of my mouth right now because, you know, I'm dating myself a little bit, but I watched Patrick Fitzgerald bring one of the most complicated gray mail cases in DOJ history. I don't think there's anything that's going to make him feel frightened or weighed down. The claim of so much discovery, so much classified information, Pat Fitzgerald can handle that, but that doesn't seem to be what's at issue. What seems to be at issue, according to people inside and sources that I speak to, is the government's not eager to actually try this case. They were eager to indict this case. And by the government, I mean the leadership as directed by Donald Trump. It will be very challenging and I think potentially difficult for people who are close to these prosecutors for the government, who eventually agreed to take this case when all of the Eastern District, Virginia prosecutors turned away and said they could not in good conscience or based on the facts pursue this case, it will be very difficult to see them go up against Pat Fitzgerald. I have seen him Ginsu knife quite a few people in cases that he's worked in. He's just quite a force, and the facts are on his side, including, selective prosecution arguments, the fact that all the prosecutors who reviewed the evidence in this case with any substance said we should not pursue it. All of those things are going to be in Pat Fitzgerald and Jim Comey, his client's, favor.
Unless there's something in discovery that people have not yet seen. And so far, the government has not produced any discovery, according to Pat Fitzgerald.
Well, the whole indictment is very curious because it's extremely terse. I mean, it's like by, criminal indictment standards, it's like a haiku. It's short and it's vague in the extreme. And I thought that Pat Fitzgerald had a fair point today where he says, look, we don't even know exactly what crime Comey is being charged with. I mean, it's a fundamental tenet of American law that you have to tell the defendant what crime you are accusing them of committing. And at some point, presumably, the government will. But for now, they haven't. The indictment speaks of person 1, person 2, person 3. We're all playing guessing games trying to figure out who those people are. And so I think in the next few weeks, the next few months, at some point, the government is going to have to come up and say, here's the actual crime we're charging you with. And by the way, here's some evidence
Well,
to
the trial
support it.
date is January 5th, so it's going to have to be pretty soon.
It's absolutely going to have to be soon. I don't know how you prepare a defense when you don't even know what the charge is.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, Tom Dupree, really good to have you in person. Please do always visit us when you're in town. Carol Leonnig and Lisa Rubin, thank you guys, ladies.